Over the last few weeks and months, as the Z Fold 2 came down in price and the Z Fold 3 did eventually hit the market, more and more people are now owning these folding tablet style devices. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to give you a rundown of a whole bunch of accessories that I think are the best accessories for the Z Fold 2 or the Z Fold 3. Now, if one is compatible with just one or the other, I will make sure that is known to you, but generally most of these are going to work with either the 2 or the 3. So first off, if you still need to purchase your Z Fold 2 or Z Fold 3, there will be a link to that in the description, as well as a link to every product I'm going to mention here today. So let's jump into my favorite accessories for the Samsung Galaxy Z Folds. So these things are pretty damn expensive. So let's start off in the most reasonable, most logical place, and that is with cases. So the first case I'm going to talk about here is the Spigen Tough Armor case. And this is what that case actually does look like in person. It was the case that I used on my Z Fold for quite some time. I think the coolest part about it is the way that the hinge is protected. If it folds out into tablet mode, that gets sort of slid away, and as it folds around into phone mode, that piece just kind of does come out. It does add some bulk to the device, but overall, if you're concerned about keeping your Z Fold 2 or Z Fold 3 protected, this is going to be a great option for that. Now, the version of this for the Z Fold 2 is going to run you about $50, whereas the version for the Z Fold 3, well, you're going to pay that premium because it is brand new, $84.99. But you can see the design is essentially identical. They just had to change the shape of the camera cutout there. But I am actually no longer using this case, as you can see, because I've actually started using the next case on the list, which is this slick little lightweight case that does have a kickstand on it. Now mine has some other stuff stuck to it, but I can pop it off here and I can show you kind of how this thing does look in person as well. It is very, very thin. It is very, very light. It's kind of got some flex to it. In terms of protection, no, it's not going to give you a ton of protection. Installation is super simple, but for me, having a kickstand wherever I go to be able to, put this thing out into tablet mode and set it down for a really nice viewing experience, that is a very good thing to be able to do. This thing is a little on the pricey side for what it is, $59. And while there's not something just like this for the Z Fold 3 that I've seen just yet, I'm sure that this is going to exist as soon as I publish the video. Someone's going to comment that they found one. But instead, what we do have is this case from Spigen, which they are calling the Neo Case Hybrid. It's going to give you a little bit more protection, go away, but it's going to have the ability to pop this extra piece out to be a kickstand for your device, $74.99 for that one. Future Shane here with one more case that has popped up for the Z Fold 3 in the days after finishing editing this video and so forth. This one is on Amazon, the Spigen Thin Fit P. And the biggest thing about this one is that it gives you a good place to put your S Pen finally. The cases that Samsung have put out, not that great. This one here, look at that, just sticks right there in the side. It will make your device slightly wider on that side, but it might be a pretty good option when it comes to a case to fit your S Pen in there as well. It's right there in the side. Looks pretty good to me. $44.99 for that one. Okay, so let's talk about the funny looking little thing that was on the back of my case here. So in addition to the kickstand, you probably noticed this guy here. And what this is it's called a sleek strip. When you push it up, that's what happens. You get this little loop. When you push down right there, it pops back in place. Okay, so on some phones, that will work as a kickstand. On here, it's too heavy. It doesn't really work well as a kickstand. But what it does do really well is it gives you a loop to be able to hold on to your device. These things are heavy, they're expensive, I don't want to drop it, and this works really well. In particular, pretty good in tablet mode, where you can kind of just one-hand this thing a lot easier. You can use it and be moving around a lot more easily. And this thing is not very expensive at all. It is $14.99. And it works really well. I've only had it here for just a couple of days, but I'm pretty happy with it so far. And, look, I'm kind of a weird tactile person, but this has a nice satisfying something to it. It's kind of become a fidget thing for me as of late. Cheap, nice functionality. Okay, so what about when it comes to charging this device? Obviously, it does have wireless charging. You might want to take advantage of that. So Samsung has a really good wireless charger here for only $29 at the moment, and it's going to match the device, going to look nice. They also have what's called their wireless charger trio, which will actually allow you to charge, maybe you've got some earbuds, maybe you have a watch, charge 3 things at once for $80 there. Although the 2 wireless chargers I have around my house that I use are actually this Anker wireless charging stand, and it works very well with my Z Fold 2, as well as this sort of round one that you can just sort of just set it down on a table. I have several of these strewn about the house. Cheap, and they work really well. Now, while the Z Fold 2 actually does have some of the best stereo speakers of any device on the market, you might want some earbuds, and I think you could go a whole lot worse than getting a set of the Galaxy Buds 2. This is something that my wife has. I was quite pleased with them. You can see some other videos on this channel doing an unboxing and first impressions. Very, very light, great controls, really solid audio. The pair that I carry, however, are these Anker Liberty Air 2 Pros. Great noise cancellation, good battery life. They both are compatible with wireless charging, so that any of these wireless charging pads will work with them as well. So let's get into some really fun stuff now. So this is an Anker USB-C hub. I've talked about it on this channel on multiple occasions with the Surface Duo and the Duo dock, but it works really well on the Z Fold 2 as well, and in some ways it might actually work better, because with this thing you could plug in a mouse, a keyboard, have some expandable storage, and most importantly an HDMI cable, because then when you plug this thing into your Z Fold 2, guess what? You're going to get that desktop DeX environment. This thing works really well, and it will also charge your device through it. Although it doesn't charge very quickly, it will charge enough to at least keep up. This thing can be had for about $34.99. Is something that I've used a lot. However, I'm probably going to be using this exclusively with Surface Duo going forward, because of something that I actually just purchased, something that I'm quite happy with so far. So this is a stand by a company called Buy Easy. And obviously it is a tablet stand. It is quite stiff to adjust. It doesn't want to wobble on the table. It's kind of got a grippy bottom to it. The coolest thing about this is it is also a USB-C hub. And if you go around the device here, you have the USB-C cable that it's going to plug into your phone with. You've got expandable SD and micro SD. You have 2 USB-A ports, a headphone jack. Then you have HDMI and USB-C in for charging. So when we're talking about something like the Z Fold 2, you could again plug in a mouse, maybe plug in a keyboard, maybe you do Bluetooth keyboard. Why not stick some SD cards in there? And then at that point, you can drop this thing down, plug it into the cable that is included. And look, maybe you're going to keep some movies on your micro SD card. So when you set this thing in here and you plug it in, you've got access to more files. Maybe you're going to keep ROMs or games on these micro SD cards to play through emulators or something like that. But even more importantly is that if you have HDMI plugged in, you're going to begin outputting to DeX, where things are going to take on a totally different life. Now this one here is a little bit more expensive, $59.99, but the charging speeds is still fast charges through this thing as well. It came with a pretty nice USB-C cable, actually much nicer than I expected it to be. And guys, I'm really happy with how well this thing works. I can imagine many different scenarios where, you know, maybe you don't have a computer, but you can afford to buy something like this, get a mouse and a keyboard, get a monitor. You come home, set your Z Fold on this thing, plug it in, and now you have your desktop computer environment. And on top of that, since it's sitting here open like this, you actually have a second screen, because you can still be interacting with your Z Fold as a phone, as a tablet, while you're using DeX. So now you kind of have a dual monitor set up, all coming off of this one device, which is absolutely spectacular. Now, in terms of keyboard, I am really impartial to this very small tri-fold design, which I've had for a really, really long time. You can find it under many different brand names, but this one here is $49.99. It is made out of aluminum. It is Bluetooth. It charges over USB micro because it is rather old, but you can see here how small, how compact this thing actually is. Really easy to throw something like this in your bag, although we do have other options like this trifold in here that actually does have a trackpad built in as well. It is only $32.99. I've not tested this one myself, but the reviews seem to be pretty decent. We also have Microsoft's just a simple bifold keyboard for $49 if you want to get something with a brand that maybe you're familiar with. I don't love the split down the middle when something like this exists that is pretty much just continuous and unbroken, but it is also an option there for you. But keep in mind that with this thing, Any keyboard will work if it's USB or Bluetooth, it doesn't matter. As for a mouse, you could do a lot worse than the Logitech Pebble in particular. If you're looking for something that's going to be slim and easy to drop into a bag, into a pocket, something like that. Awesome mouse here for $24.99. You also have the Microsoft Arc mouse, which can flatten down and be extremely flat. So if we're looking for stuff that we can easily tote around with this kind of, setup, I think you could do a whole lot worse. Because with this thing, you can actually fold it down again, and you've got, look, that's something you can easily drop into a bag. It's not going to take up a ton of space. And then something like a Pebble mouse or a Microsoft Arc mouse, you could slot that guy right in there. Easy to take with you wherever you need to go. And of course, if there's a TV where you're going, this setup, you've got a computer wherever you might wind up going. And then you might as well get something like the 8BitDo SN30, which is just a phenomenal Bluetooth controller, because now with that same setup, it's not just a computer if there's a TV somewhere nearby, it's actually a game system, because like I said earlier, keep some ROMs on that SD card. And you can start playing emulators, whether it's Game Boy Advance or whatever it is you want to play. Super Nintendo, boom, there you go. And this thing, of course, relatively inexpensive at $44.99. You want something that is super duper duper portable? How about the 8BitDo 02 Mini for $9.99? If you're already playing as Game Boy Advance or something like Super Nintendo, you really don't need much more than this. This thing's battery lasts an eternity, and it's really good. For something this small, it is actually really, really great. So I could even see this hub used as a great entertainment system sort of setup. So imagine you go into your living room, you can have this thing sitting next to your TV, right? Come home from work, open this thing up, plug it in, it'll prompt because HDMI is running into the TV, DeX should appear on the television. Maybe you've got your mouse and keyboard on a desk or a table nearby, and boom, there you go. You've got DeX there. Or maybe you're going to load up an emulator and start playing some old school games with a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard. You're going to be shocked how well this actually does work. Let's stick with the gaming thing though in general, and let's look at the FlyDigi Wii 2T. So this here is a telescopic controller, again, $57.99. There's some other options out there. Basically, if you look for a tablet controller, something that's telescopic and Bluetooth, it's going to work fine with your Z Fold. But this is the one that I have. It is Bluetooth and it is telescopic. And the general idea here is that you would set this thing in, expand it around it, and boom, you have a pretty ridiculous gaming setup. And whether, again, you're doing emulators or doing something like I do, which is in-home game streaming over Moonlight or, whatever your in-home, Steam, what have you, it's going to work really, really well. The joysticks are small, but they work well enough. The buttons are nice and clicky. Battery life is very good. It can actually charge your device while you're playing because there is a USB-A port, so plug an A to C in there, charge your device while you are playing. It does charge itself over USB micro as well, which is a little bit of a bummer, but whatever. For the price, it's pretty great also. And I also want to point out that if you just want a cheap basic stand, no crazy hub functionality, Amazon and Best Buy both sell a stand that is just like this, and you can have one of these for about $11. And it works really well. I've used this thing off and on for a long time, and really not until this thing appeared in my life did I stop using it. As we start winding things down here, how about a skin for your Z Fold device? Now we have several options here from Soapy Guard, who knows how to pronounce this website? Not me, I don't know. But they're a little bit cheaper than D-Brand. They have all kinds of skins. They have skins for the Fold 2 or the Fold 3. Of course, D-Brand has skins and cases for Z Fold 2 and Z Fold 3. They're a bit more expensive, but their quality is a little bit better, so definitely keep them in mind. I also recommend getting hold of one of these USB-C to HDMI cables, because even if you don't have one of these guys or you don't have one of these guys, maybe you want to go really simple, just get a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard and one of these, and then you can plug that into any TV and you're pretty much rolling just the same. You're going to lose the expandable storage and some other charging and things like that, but that's going to work really well as well. If all you need is a simple setup, heck, let's cut it down even more. Thin keyboard, thin mouse, and you've got a portable setup too. And then this is one of my all-time favorite purchases for the Duo or the Z Fold, and that is this car mount. The way this one works is it actually goes into your CD slot, then you turn that little knob to expand it out, and once you've done that, it is in there, it is not coming out. And it's meant for tablets, and that's what the Z Fold is. And it works absolutely phenomenally. And as you can see, you can turn it around and use it on a regular phone too, vertically. But for the Z Fold 2, I stick this thing in there first thing I do when I get in my car, and it works so phenomenally well. Like I said, one of my favorite purchases I've ever made for either of these devices. And if you're a Surface Duo person, it works great for it too. $19.99 is an absolute steal for this car mount. So guys, that is my list of my favorite accessories for the Z Fold 2 or Z Fold 3. If I've missed any that you love, drop them in the comments down below for others to be able to see. Thanks for making it to the end of today's video. As always, it does help me out a ton. Stay tuned for more content just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friend.